Hi friends, welcome. Again, thanks for taking time out of your day to watch my video. I am going to paint tonight an 8 by 10, which is the most common size for me. I like this size. It's standard size to frame. If you frame it in a nice frame, you know it doesn't look dinky, but it's not overly big. I don't know, it's just my favorite size. A while back, you may have watched, I put some videos out where I painted a row of shoes. And if you recall, I had never decided what I was going to put in the foreground. I did put some items in. I put a compact and a lipstick, and I played around with some pearls. Somebody suggested pearls. I put them in, I don't know, I didn't like the way I laid them there, and I ended up wiping them out. So I've been looking at the painting for a while, trying to decide what to do with it. So a couple nights ago, I put it up. I'm trying to think what I did. I painted a perfume bottle in there. But things have to work together, and when I sat it down and looked at it, the perfume bottle just kind of glowed. It just did not work with all the other parts of the painting. I wiped it out. So then I have a couple of these small, skinny, tall perfume bottles. They're almost like a shape of a marker, and I stood one up and laid one down, and I put a bottle of nail polish in. Then I looked at that. Well, I didn't care for the one that was laying down. I did like the one that was standing up, and the nail polish looked nice. But that gave me four objects. It gave me the nail polish, the perfume, and the compact and the lipstick. It gave me an even number of objects that kind of seemed disconnected. So this is what I'll show to you. This is what I ended up doing, and I think I'm happy with it. I have not painted the edges yet, but I think the painting is done. Let's see if I can get you back far enough to show it to you. Okay, there's the 4 shoes that you saw me paint that. Let me get you out of that light so you can see it better. But I put the compact and the lipstick in, and then I ended up laying in this stem of flowers. The only other thing I might do is to shadow the stem of the flowers. I like the way I did this part, so it felt like the stem was curving away. So that's the only other thing I might do yet. I have signed it, and I haven't painted the edges. But, you know, I think it works now. I don't feel like anything jumps out at me. I did go in with some of this color, and I put it in the shoe. You know, I put it here and there to kind of pull it, you know, together. So you saw bits of it. A little bit of it's even reflecting in the mirror. So I tried to think about that. So I think I like it now. Like I said, I have to paint the edges yet. It's been fun painting. Tonight, what I'm going to do some more shoes. Did I show you the painting? I'll show you the painting I did the other night. I did that on my own. I have done these red shoes before online. It's sold. These little ones I painted years ago. And I'll tell you what I'm going for here. I just like the idea of from a child to adult. I'll have to think of a clever name. If you got any ideas, give me your ideas. You know, I don't know. I think it just kind of shows a life. So I kind of like the idea of that. And of course, they're both red. I propped this one up a little bit so you could see into it a little bit. And I've angled this one so you can see the heel back there. So this is what I'm doing. Let me show you what I did the other night. I'll carry it over and show you. I have a pair. I like baby shoes. I don't know what it is about me. I painted a lot of them over the years. I've got Shoe Last, I think they're called, which are antique little wood baby forms that they used to build shoes around. I've got several pairs of those. I painted, I have a pair of bronzed baby shoes, and this is what I painted the other night. Just did this by myself. I sat it up to kind of challenge myself to see if they would read like bronze shoes when I was done. So I had fun with that, little 5 by 7. I think it's really sweet. It's just, I just love baby shoes. I can't explain it. Little baby feet are the most precious thing, aren't they? So let me get in here, get you back here. So this is what we're going for. This may not be one session even, I don't know. Again, this is an 8x10. I'm going to look through my view catcher. I've been doing some of that, trying to figure out how I want to set this up. I can see now that you're kind of in my way. Let me see if I can back you up and still you'll be able to see. I think that's okay. So anyway, I've been looking through this, trying to decide. I don't want to give myself an enormous amount of negative space up here above the baby shoes. So we'll have, I think I'm going to have some fabric draped down in the front that takes up some of that space. So give me a little bit here. We'll kind of try to get these sketched on. We'll look, I try to look through here and see where things hit, maybe in the center. You know, use it as a guide. I've set it for 8x10. So how's everybody doing? I hope everyone's well. I think I mentioned I had my first shot. They haven't scheduled my second, which is a little bit of a concern. I called and asked about it, and she almost yelled at me. She said, "We'll be in touch with you." Okay. I thought, you know, the type I had, you had to have the second in 3 weeks, but apparently it's anywhere from 3 weeks to 40 some days, she said. So I guess I'll wait, won't I? I'm just ready to go. I like these red shoes. I like the bow. Don't really wear high heels anymore. They're just not comfortable, but I used to. I usually try to get one object correct. Oops, you know, I'm starting obviously with the shoe, and then hopefully we can use it then to go off of for everything else. Like wherever I determine the heel is here. Let me look at that again. Wherever I determine this is here, then I look at this space for the next one to see how far up it is past here. So if you can get one thing correct, you know, sometimes you can go off of that for everything else. Anyway, if you got any good ideas for names, like I said, throw them at me. I thought of some things, but from child to something, or from, I don't know, toddler to something, or we may bring this one down further. I feel like it's I may have crowded myself for the little ones. Let me think about it. Because if this little one's about here, it's going to be really close here, about into there. I don't want to run it off. Yeah, I got quite a few pairs of baby shoes in there. My husband had a cousin that was younger than him and passed away in a car accident, but I had the sweetest pair of baby Janes, I think they call them, of hers, and I painted them a few times. I can't locate them anymore. I can't imagine. They're not here someplace. They must be here someplace. Okay, we're going to run just a little bit the edge off of that, I think. But she was almost my age, so they're really old, as you can imagine, these shoes. I just can't find them. I feel like this one should be a little bigger. I like paintings of rubber boots too, especially. There's a lady, I think she's in, I want to say the UK, I'm not sure, but she does a lot of paintings of, she'll line up rubber boots, like mom, dad, and the children. Really sweet. Yeah, I like the shoe painting that I did. Maybe at some point I'll enter it into a show. That big still life that I did months ago on here, I like it too. Right now it's hanging on my wall in there. And I like when you come down and you see that the bow goes off past the shoe. So I want to make sure I get that. Same thing happens here. And then inside, about like that. So we'll start with the darkest darks that we see first. You know, you get something in your head that you just want to paint, and I want to do this. I'm going to use a rosemary, I'm going to use an ivory, which is a stiffer, more like a bristle. I'm working in water mixable oils. Last time, someone asked me a question about, they thought there was water in these oils. I forgot how they put it. They asked me a question about them. They are not. They are oil paints. There is no water in these paints. They are created, though, that they've made some kind of change in them where water breaks them down, like a solvent breaks down traditional oil paints. But these are oil paints. Matter of fact, you can mix these with traditional oils. I don't know the percentages. If you go too far, they're no longer water cleanup. So something to keep in mind. But if I have led anybody to believe that they're not oils, they're oils. They're not mixed with water. And I actually not, you know, they used to call them water miscible oils. These actually are called water mixable oils because you can mix them with water. Let me show you a label. These are the Cobra, which is my favorite brand. And they do say water mixable oil, which means you can mix them with water, but there's no water in those. It's just a technology that they've created where, again, they break down with water. So you want to, I know some people put a lot of water in them, but I try to limit the water in them because, again, it's like putting solvent. If you're a traditional oil painter and you put Gamsol or whatever you use for a, you know, it breaks your paint down. So there's a limit to how much of that you want to put in my opinion. Same with these, I think. Not everybody would agree with that, but that's, all right, let's put in the darkest darks we see first. I have a brother that lives in Texas, and they're not doing so good right now. You're probably aware of that. He has 4 children there, and 2 of them have no electric. He's staying with one that she has electric. Thank goodness, because she has a lot of children. I don't know where she would go. But his is out. Two of his daughters are out. The one has a generator and is doing pretty good. She has a fireplace, which you don't always find in Texas. The other one has a generator too and has managed to keep in her living room, you know, fair. So they're all in there. The son, his keeps going in and out. It's terrible. I mean, they're just crazy temperatures. You just don't see that in Texas much. We were supposed to get a whole lot of snow last night, and we ended up with sleet first and some snow because it was warmer in the atmosphere and it turned to sleet. So still nasty, you know, but we're fortunate. I'm not complaining at all. Our electric didn't go out, and that's a biggie. We have a camper. I guess we'd go, worst comes to worst, we'd stay in there till our gas ran out. This area is red, but it's very, very dark, so I'm going to put that in as a dark for now. And the whole inside is black, but just not, some areas are a bit lighter, so I'm trying to look at that. It's a little lighter there. This right here, this area here is catching a nice glow, so just playing around here, just throwing a little bit of everything in, kind of making a gray. This is warmer here though. Like I said, it's catching some light, even though it's the black area of the shoe. And I'm working with a limited palette, warm and cool of each primary, and transparent red oxide and Indian yellow. So the black that I make is out of ultramarine and transparent red oxide. It's not black. Yeah, I sold the red shoes just recently here, which was nice. And I've been working on some dog commissions. Just adjusting that a little bit. I'll put this in, but I don't know that I've got that in the right spot at all. Now let's look at the little shoes and see what darks we see there. They're not going to be near as dark as what we've got there, so. If you've not watched me paint before, I kind of paint like it's a puzzle, and I just block in shapes and colors. There's a shadow here across the toe. And it's a red shoe, so I mixed some red in that and warmed it up. I guess when I get done with all those high heels, when I think I'm done painting, I'll donate them back to the thrift store, I guess. I did have an idea to do like 3 pair in a row, maybe all 5x7s, and put them in one frame. I think that would be nice, so I may do that. Let's go back to the high heels. And I think I'm just going to mix some different values of red. And I'm going to mix the 2 reds that I have on here, Crimson and Cad Red Light. Like back here on the back of this heel here, it's really catching some nice light. So we're going to want that to be lighter, warmer. Of course, it's all warm, it's red, but we may mix a little yellow even in some of it. And in some of this, a little bit of ultramarine to get it darker. All right, let's go for the darkest parts of the red that we see first. You know, we might even use a palette knife later, we'll see, on some of these harder edges. Again, this is a stretch canvas, so I always have to kind of work to get it into the tooth of the canvas. I'm going to go over that with some red, that very dark color. This is catching nice light there too, that toe. And these are shiny, so it's kind of nice. We've got some nice highlights on them too. That will be fun. I'm still sketching, doing sketches on TikTok. Seemed like, you know, they weren't getting, I think people weren't viewing them till the end. They look and see if it's them, and so, you know, I didn't know if they really were that interested, so I put that out there yesterday, and a lot of people are interested in it, so I'm going to keep doing them. People made some suggestions, and some good suggestions. I'm going to start at the end of the video. If you watch the whole thing, then I'm going to start not saying who they are, but you'll see it. I'll put it out there, so then you'll know who it is. TikTok's a huge community of people, so I can't even comprehend the number of people on there, but we don't all know each other, that's for sure. Trying to see what's off here. I think I didn't take that hole in the toe up quite far enough. Yeah. And sometimes, like, I'll mix these 3 values that I did, and then I'll intermix those 2 to get some different values. I might take the mid-tone and mix it with the deep red to get something in between. It's a nice thing about pre-mixing some colors. It, you know, gives you some options. Like there's some light coming across and hitting the other side of that. You know, you do what you have to do to explain what people are looking at. And we'll clean up the shape of this when we paint the background in. I always say that. Just get some red on there. And then there's a black sole on there. I should have probably put that in when I was adding my black touches. There's a little highlight on that even. And if you've not joined me before, I consider myself an impressionist. So I don't like things real hard-edged and very, very particular. So It's a little darker up in there than I have it. Like I said, when we paint in this around this, then we'll cut into here and get the shape of that bow a little bit better. It's really fun. You can see up in that edge of that bow on that side. Poor women used to dress up a long time ago, didn't they? Like in the 40s, and they do now too, I guess, some of them. We've all gotten, hell, we don't leave the house now, so what's the point, right? I like tops, new tops, and I bought some pretty ones last year. I never got to wear. I didn't go anyplace, you know, no openings, and hopefully this year, right? Let's move on to the next one. Let me look for, I think we'll go ahead and try to go for the lightest areas first that we see. I think I mentioned my Monday group's gonna start painting again together March 15th, so I'm excited about that. So I've been reaching out, making sure they all got my email, and I think almost all of them are ready to go. There's one that's kind of scared of it, and I don't know when she'll return, but it's kind of their choice, of course. A few of them don't want the vaccine, I guess. One of them said she hasn't really painted at all. I never stop painting, as you know. I'm glad to have it, you know, have something to do. Yeah, that's darker right through there. It's kind of shadowed from the little shoe. to see if I can see a little bit of that heel back there, maybe. Let's get one of our little brushes out and maybe play around with some highlights. I'm going to try pure white, and we'll see what that looks like. I don't always assume that that's what you go for highlights, but they're pretty bright because these are shiny. Let me look at that. I don't know. I think it's too light. We'll come back and cut into that and clean it up. This is really like the icing on the cake, and a lot of times they say leave that till last, you know, kind of keeps you going and excited if you don't do it too early. But see, now I'm cutting into that highlight to make it sharper. And we may have to come back and do more. I'm not assuming these are done by any means. I'm gonna bring that heel over that shoe. All right, so let's move on to the little guys. Oh, there's even some, let me switch, I even have a tinier brush. There's even some highlights on the soles. I'm going to take a little blue and a little white for that. Coming back with a little pure white, and it's a little bit heavier too, and hitting some of these again. We'll see. Nothing's done till it's done. Let's move on to the little guys. They're a little orangier, so we'll mix a little more yellow into this cad red for the light areas. Put a little bit of white in there. Maybe a little crimson, because I definitely want to pull it back toward red. And we'll try the light areas that we see first. I usually work dark to light. You've heard me say that, and thin to thick. And as you can see now, I'm laying on lighter colors after the darks. It doesn't really matter. I mean, whatever works for you. Sometimes it's nice to work with the light colors while they're clean. And we did that area dark, but we'll warm it up a little bit so it, you know, it feels like a warm color part of the shoe. Also going to do the same here on that very dark part, warm it up. How are we doing on time? About 45 minutes. Again, if these are long for you, I suggest you just watch them in parts, come back. You know, hopefully you enjoy the fact that I'm not editing. When you watch them, you see the whole thing. A lot of people edit, and I'm sure a lot of people are fast forwarding through these. I always say when you watch them, it's like you're visiting my studio because they're not edited. Hopefully some people enjoy that. Some of this has got to go down here. This, some of that's the sole, and I've made it all dark. Occasionally I have Q-tips on here, and they're handy to have around, you know, just to wipe out little areas. I don't know if you use them for anything, but there's a little flower there that I'm going to work on. I'm building the shoe as I go. And then the sole's down here. It's got kind of a yellow sole. Let me see. I'm going to lighten it and put a little more yellow in it as it rounds back here and it's catching more light. This area is really in shadow there, so we'll leave it that kind of green color. The insides of the shoes are just kind of off-white. Some areas are catching a little bit of light. We'll have to come back and do that. That's inside. I just love painting. I've heard people say it's like magic. It feels like that sometimes, you know? You go from nothing to something, it's just great. Richard Smith, in my opinion, is one of the greatest living artists of our day. He's getting older now, but you should check him out if you're not familiar with him. They call him the maestro sometimes, and he paints like that. You feel like that when you watch him, like he's just, his strokes, and he's just a delight to paint. I mean, to watch paint, gosh. If you paint, you know, there are times you lay down a stroke, it just feels good. It feels good when you lay down almost an unexpected stroke, and it's like, oh, I love that stroke, and you don't want to touch it, you know. It does happen. All right, the little flower on this shoe here is yellow. So I think what we'll do is we'll put in the lightest yellow that we see first. So I'm just taking some cad lemon and some white. We've got a little flower here actually on the strap. You know, we're just creating it, which is fun. Back here, not as much of it's in the light, just this top section. We'll add a little blue as it goes away. Which of course pulls it a little greener, but that's okay. And the little teeny tiny center of the flower is yellow, but it's a little more orangey yellow, so we'll mix our two together. I'm going to make an orange, just red and yellow. Might put a little white in it, get a little lighter. Where the shoes catching the most light. You know, and you could pick around these a long time. It just depends on how detailed you want them to be. You could show all the stitching and everything if that's important to you. Trying to decide what else is important to me on the shoes. You know, there's a little row of white stitching. I, of course, don't want to paint every little piece of thread, but we might kind of suggest some of it. Oh, I see. One thing I didn't do, and I do want to do, is that little flower on the other side of the shoe here. So easy to miss things. When you're outside painting, I always say that the longer you're there, the more you see. It's like there is one reflection there. Let's see, on these shoes. Don't know how this will read, but let's try it. They're hard to explain what they are. Kind of like a leather. All right. Making a mess. All right, let's think about the background. We'll get that in, and then we'll look at the objects again after we do that. I have a shadow. I pushed it back, so I've got somewhat of a shadow here. We'll see. I never know till I get there whether I like that idea or not, you know. I am, for the first time, going to put a tiny bit of water in this, just so they'll move a little better for me. Putting in our shadows. We'll come back probably and ground these things, you know, with some right up by the object with a darker line yet. We'll do that later. Need more hands. All right, let's keep it darker. I think I do want it to feel like, you know, we're sitting on a table, so we'll do ultramarine, transparent red oxide for the background, and we'll lighten it up. Okay, the shoes are red, which is very warm. I'm just thinking, you know, if you went kind of kept the gray color toward green, that would be the complement. Just a thought. And we may have to go over this again. You know, I've thinned it down. We're just yeah, we'll have to clean this shoe up. And try not to, like when you go around a shape, try not to leave it there. You don't want that to show up. Sometimes people do that. They'll paint skies around buildings and, or, you know, and mimic the shape of the building unintentionally, I think. Or trees. They'll take trees around buildings and mimic the shape of the building. Like I said, we're going to come back and look at all these objects again once we get this background covered, because we want the objects, like we've lost that. We have to make sure that heel stands out, not the heel, the back of that shoe. But you don't really know all these things till you get some paint on there everywhere. And I didn't tone this time, but I do like to tone. And if I had tone, then we'd have that underneath here, and that would be kind of nice. like this shadow, so we're going to kind of try to keep it. Okay, so let's mix up something for the foreground, much lighter. So into this color we made for the background, which is what I do a lot, I'm going to mix a bunch of white into that. And maybe a little more yellow to warm it up. Okay. You know, if you work out of the same puddles and push things back and forth, you know, I think your painting works a lot better. You know, you don't just have one color that you don't have any place else that way. We'll see how we like that. It might be a little darker over here than I have it, but I kind of might like that shape running across there, so we'll just decide once we get it covered. Keep my little thumb hole over here till last. Keep it clean, right? So I got something to hang on to. It's like with the dog portraits that I do, I paint the edges, but it's the last thing I do, so I got something to hang on to till they approve them. Get a tiny bit of water, though I've stayed out of it, as you can see, through most of the painting. The paints I use are good quality, too. There are student grade. I think Winsor Newton tend to be more student grade. And I think that makes a difference, too, as to probably, you know, the amount of water you can put in them and so forth. I heard Charlie Hunter say they were more student grade. He uses Cobra too, like I do. He's a very good artist, Charlie Hunter. Another artist you might check out. Right up here by the edge of the shoe, we want to ground that, so, and the shadow that goes out from that will get lighter because it's catching more light. I need a smaller brush. Wait a minute. Hey, if you're an artist, tell me what you're working on. What are you painting right now? See, and you can cut into that highlight and make it smaller if you want to. Like I said, this is pretty thin, so I'm not saying we're going to leave it that way. Cleaning up some shapes a little bit. You can soften some edges too this way. That is very light there. Taking some of that orange color and brightening up some areas and pushing back highlights if they're too much. Okay, I want to look at this over here because I want to make sure okay, we need to do a little adjustment on that toe. Okay, this needs to come over. Maybe you could see that. I just now realized that. This could be darker in here. Now there is some writing inside these shoes. You know, do we care about that? I don't know. Trying some stuff, I don't know. We'll lighten that up as we go away. That might be too much there. We'll have to decide whether that catches your eye too much. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here. I'm going to measure that heel, that length of that heel, what I can see. Okay, it's that long. Let me find something to compare it to. So it's about like that. That's pretty close. So anyway, if you got any suggestions on names, like I said, the thought behind it is, you know, obviously a child's shoes, and now we're grown, so we all remember playing dress up too, don't we, as kids? Okay, I feel like this has got to be pushed back a little bit. The shape of this, I think, is a little off. Let me fix that. It feels it should be a little more over there. So we'll redefine the edge of that again. See, it made a fingerprint right there. So anyway, I'm going to quit for now. Like I said, I may go over the background again and clean it up. All right, I'll stand up and show it to you. As soon as I get up, you know, I'll see something. That's how it works. I see something already. We never did put this back in. Let's put that back in. You know, that'd be perfect, but I want to suggest it. So. There's some tiny little highlights even there. All right, I'll shut up and back up and show you the setup again. Let me get up out of here. I was sitting tonight too, which is not the best way really, because you got your face in it the whole time. And keep in mind, there's a lot of glare on it. You know, these are some of these strokes that you're seeing. is because they go sideways. You know, if you push them down, they kind of disappear, makes a difference. But it's wet, of course, very wet, so I think it's sweet. I just wanted, I connected the shoes, and I wanted, because they were all red, even though these are kind of an orangier red. I don't know, I'll think about it. So let me show you again the crank you down and show you the little baby shoes and mama shoes. All right, been an hour and 20 minutes, that's not too bad. And like and subscribe, please, and I'll put the link to my website in. And when I get it, if I may tweak it a bit, and if I do, I'll post the completed painting on Facebook. I usually do with a link. Barbara Pask Fine Art, you can find me on there. And thanks for joining me again, and watch for me next time. If you hit the notification bell, then they'll tell you when I post. All right. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.